Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello, listeners. This is your host, Andy Curry, and today I am really fired up because I have with me on the line Karen Jacobsen. Karen has been speaking for 6 years. Her content she speaks on is recalculating in business and in life, and I can't wait to hear more about that. Karen speaks in the U.S. and internationally. She is based out of New York. She has written 2 books. The first one is called The GPS Girl's Roadmap for Your Future, and the second one is called Recalculate, Directions for Driving Performance Success. Karen, welcome to the program.
Hello, thank you for having me here.
Oh, we're so excited to have you here, Karen. Tell us about your speaking business. We want to know what it is you're saying to groups that are listening to you. What are you teaching them? How are you helping them? That kind of thing.
Well, I started out as a performer, a singer and songwriter in the entertainment business, and my speaking voice has ended up in over 400 million GPS units around the world.
Oh, you're the one.
Giving drivers directions. And, you know, I'm an unexpected speaker because I started to have people ask me to come and share my story of how my speaking voice ended up in all of those devices, GPS devices and phones.
I want to hear that.
And, yeah, and it's turned out to be just such a fortunate kind of expansion of my life and my brand. And a lot of people would ask me when they would find out that my voice was in their GPS, they would ask me all kinds of questions. They'd want to tell me their stories, their GPS stories of how we had taken wonderful trips together, very specific trips, and talk to me like I was right there with them. And I knew there was something to create. So I have created an empowerment brand called the GPS Girl. And what we do is provide materials through live speaking, through books, through online content to help people keep going no matter what when things don't go as planned. So that is what I speak about, Andy. I speak about how to recalculate in business and in life, just like we can when we're driving our car.
Well, that's a neat takeoff from the GPS thing. I definitely see the tie-in. Tell us your story on how you did got the GPS gig. That's interesting.
Well, it was just not that long after I moved from Australia to New York City, and I'd always wanted to live in New York. As a singer and songwriter, or as a young girl, I grew up. At 7 years of age, I saw Olivia Newton-John on television, and my life changed. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a professional singer and move to America. And I, at the age of 31, was living in New York City, and an agent contacted me and said, "We have a client looking for a native Australian female voiceover artist living in the northeast of the United States." And I read that brief, and I just thought, well, this job is mine.
Man, that doesn't describe you any better, does it?
Exactly. So I went to the audition, and they had me say some different sentences and a few things like, "At the next intersection, turn left," and some other things like, "You have reached your destination." And before I knew it, they said, "Well, we'd love to book you," and we recorded for almost 3 weeks to capture really like a phone book worth of script. So it was about 50 hours of recording to create a text-to-speech system that has ended up in all of those devices right around the world.
How awesome. Now, how many different phrases were there?
I would not even know. You know what? I'm going to go back to one of those engineers and ask an approximation of how many phrases, because that's a really great a great statistic I would love to have. But it was a lot.
You know, I've always got a kick out of GPSs because if you miss the turn, I'm always waiting for it to go, "Yo, stupid, you missed it."
Oh, no, it's not designed that way.
I know.
Andy, it's designed to be your friend and to
I
stay
know.
calm and consistent and to say, in a friendly voice, to say, recalculating, like, I've got this, you don't have to worry. And that's
Right.
part of that message that I wanted to then bring into life when I made that connection between directions in the car and directions in life. It really was very clear to me that, when you're in the car, and that voice says you take a wrong turn, and that voice says recalculating, the satellites work their magic, and a few turns later you're on the right road headed to your destination. Now, in life, when we take a wrong turn, sometimes we will wander around, meandering on a back road in life, lost sometimes for years. And I am all about sharing that message of recalculating and the power of recalculating and being able to let go of what did or didn't happen on a moment-to-moment basis, on a daily basis, so we can continue our momentum. And, therefore in business, that makes us more productive and it drives our performance. If we can bounce back, if we can course correct, if we can keep going, not pretending that everything's okay, but genuinely feeling good that we can leave behind whatever that disappointment was. I mean, that's where we have true progress in our own businesses and lives.
How do you teach people to leave behind the thing they didn't get that they wanted and go forward? What do you tell them?
Great question. And the good news is this is something that can be practiced and learned. It's not necessarily something we're born knowing, but it is something that we can get better at day after day, year after year. So what I have developed is the 5 directions for recalculating, which is a 5-step process people can use in any situation, whether it be a small recalculation or one of those major life recalculations. And I'd love to take you through those 5 steps.
Please do.
So the first direction for recalculating is to notice you are off route. And this is in life now, not in the car. And to simply notice, because sometimes we can be off route or have things not going the way we want to and not even be aware of it and be going along in our day. But the moment we actually notice it's not going how we wanted it to go, that's when we can do something about it. That's when we can start to take different actions. So that first direction for recalculating is to notice you are off route. The second direction for recalculating is to be willing to change direction. It doesn't mean that you're going to have to change direction if you notice you're off route. You might just be course correcting in a small way to get where you're going. But being willing is arguably the most challenging aspect of recalculating, because sometimes we don't want to look. We don't want to admit that we had a hand in things not going the way we wanted them to go.
That is for sure.
And if you've ever had anything to do with a small child or a toddler, had any close contact with a small child, and you've tried to get them to do something they really do not want to do, how does that generally go?
It is a struggle.
Not well, because when they decide they don't want to do it, you really cannot force somebody to do something they don't want to do, and adults are just the same.
True.
So being willing within ourselves is a very big piece. So the first direction, again, is to notice that you're off route. The second direction is to be willing to change direction. The third direction for recalculating is to clarify your destination. This is where we take a look. Am I headed to where I thought I was headed? Or because of this new information that's come to light or this detour that's happened, am I changing where I'm actually headed? Because if we don't know what we are after and what that end result is that we are looking for, we're just floating in the wind.
Right.
And allowing life to have its way with us and to take us wherever it chooses, rather than, or other people's agendas when it comes to business. But if we are clear about the outcome we want and we get very clear on it, even after things don't go the way we want them to, if we make that decision, actually things have changed. Now I'd like to see this result. There's something very powerful about being willing to and then identifying that and then actually going forth and doing something about it. So that third direction is to clarify your destination. The fourth direction for recalculating, once you know exactly where it is you're headed, is to embrace the steering wheel. And what I mean by embracing the steering wheel is to get ready to go for it. This is where you know now where you are headed. You've taken a deep breath, let go of what didn't work. You move yourself from the passenger seat or the passive side to the driver's seat or the proactive side of yourself. And you are geeing yourself up and getting ready to go for it. So that's that direction of embracing the steering wheel. Number 5, the final direction for recalculating is to accelerate, because once you know where it is you want to be headed, the next thing to do is to take an action. And when we get very clear through this process, and we're at number 5, to accelerate, it's really important to take an action. Any kind of action, even if it's a small action like writing it down or making a phone call or telling somebody in our lives that this is what we are planning. To actually take an action really helps us move out of the energy we were in and move forward into that next stage of moving toward what it is we want. So that right there are the 5 directions for recalculating, a process that can be used for any time something does not go as planned.
I like that a lot. A thing that I make it a habit to do at least once a week usually is to sit back and ask myself, what's not working?
Beautiful.
Because a lot of time, you can just get caught up working in your business and you should be working on it.
Right.
And I have found when I step back and say what's not working, boy, that's a great time to adjust. And it's a lot of times, you got to recalculate, but not near as much, I think, if you stay on top of that.
Yeah, and that's where I, really believe that this, and it's been my experience, that this set of directions, and this is a practice. This is something to do regularly, and I love your business practice where you are asking that question of what's not working, and to really get clear on that, it gives us the ability to course correct in small ways regularly rather than having a disaster at some point because we didn't pay attention.
The famous French general Napoleon Bonaparte, I read where he told his generals in war, do not come and tell me what's working, because that will take care of itself. I want to know what's not so we can fix it.
Mm.
And I always thought that was a powerful thing to keep in the back of one's mind. Now,
very good.
Is your book, your first one, talks about the GPS Girls Roadmap. That would imply that you're speaking mostly to women, or am I misunderstanding that?
Definitely not. It's for anybody interested in creating, really getting clear on where they are headed in life or in business, and getting very clear on priorities and, priorities, and really creating a set of lists. The book is filled, it's a journal-style book, with lists to write and sentences to finish and questions to answer to really identify what is it I want. If I could create any kind of life, and we actually can, if I can intentionally plan and create any kind of life, what would that look like? What would that be like? And it gives the reader plenty of opportunity to workshop that, and writing those things down with pen and paper is extremely powerful. And in fact, you have a 90% greater chance of something happening just by writing it down, which of course makes me want to write everything down right now.
No kidding. I've heard a lot of people talking about goal setting. They always say write it down, and it's good. It seems to cement it into your DNA, and you have a place to look at it, so it can remind you. The great Robert Schuller, the minister from the Crystal Cathedral, I can't remember if he's still alive or not, but he always used to say, if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do? Great question.
I love it.
Yes. Now, your second book, Recalculate, Directions for Driving Performance Success, is that kind of a synopsis of what you do when you speak, or what is that about?
This book it's brand new. It's just coming out, and goodness, this book talks somewhat about recalculating and what recalculating is, but then I've broken this down into a set of outcomes to work toward over a 12 to 24 month period for anybody interested in really elevating their performance level, whatever business or field they are in. And I have broken this down into 4 different areas: business, well-being, delivery, and quality of life. And in each of these 4 sections, you will find, as I said, these outcomes to work toward. And they can be as different as in well-being, really taking a look at what we're eating, how much we're sleeping, are we being hydrated, what kind of products we have in our homes and toxins we're ingesting on a daily basis, all the way through to the kind of performance elevating tools like filming ourselves and making sure we have a 3-minute video we are proud of, whether we are going to use that online or in our business materials or not. The process of doing something like that is very confronting. If you're not a public person and you're not used to filming yourself and looking back or recording your own voice and listening back, a lot of people will, as the GPS girl, a lot of people will say to me, "Oh my goodness, I can't stand it when I hear my own voice recorded and listen back to it on my voicemail message or something like that." And that is an extremely common reality, not just for people who don't use their voice professionally. I know many people, myself included, who took a long time to get used to that. But just the act of either recording your voice or recording yourself on video, it builds our confidence in a way nothing else does, Andy. So I have these kinds of tools in this book, and this is really for the kind of person interested in delivering their best and being their best on a daily basis, and driving their performance to get the kind of results that they're interested in their business.
That's a great technique, filming yourself. I'm a bluegrass musician, and I play with a band, and we film ourselves to see how we can improve. And I have to say, it can be painful to watch yourself.
Oh. Well, that's the thing. When I said it's confronting, it can be excruciating. And it's those people who are willing to go through that discomfort and to look at themselves in the same way you said, looking at what's not working. How could this be better? What is not working here? The development and transformation that provides is extraordinary. And these are techniques, many of the techniques that I am sharing in that book, Recalculate, are very, they're self-discipline tools. They are not actually expensive. Somebody who is just starting out in business or, does not have the financial resources to hire top coaches can get a tremendous amount from these tools because they are self-generated tools. And once you are able to build that kind of discipline, to do something on a daily or a weekly basis to develop yourself, really that's where true success starts to build in a big way.
Fantastic. Now, I want to clarify something. When I asked you about your first book, and I said the GPS Girls Roadmap, I misunderstood that, because when you say GPS Girls, you are the girl because you're the GPS girl.
That's right. That's my brand. So
right.
the name of my brand is in that title. So, yes, now I understand why you asked that question.
Yeah, so I want to clarify, listeners, it's not about the girls. It's because you are the GPS girl.
Yeah.
And so I just want to make sure and clarify that. Now, Karen, how can people get a hold of you should they want you to speak or want to know more?
Oh, thank you for asking that question. And I absolutely love what I get to do. And I'm really in my element when I am brought in to be the opening keynote speaker for a national or an international group, and love to share that message of recalculating. And I most times will have a piano or a keyboard on stage because I do have that background as a singer-songwriter, and I weave musical performance into my keynote. So that makes it very entertaining and gives some reflection time as I'm delivering those 5 directions for recalculating. And my website is thegpsgirl.com. I can be contacted directly through that website. And I love to hear people's recalculating stories or to connect. And I'm at facebook.com/thegpsgirl. My Twitter handle is thegpsgirl. I have a YouTube channel. Just love, as I said, to connect, and people can be in touch with me directly for any kind of information in terms of booking, and look forward to connecting with your listeners.
Well, Karen, thank you so much. It's been a joy to talk to you. It's fascinating. I just love talking to speakers, and almost every story is just so different. And this is just as different as the rest of them. Your GPS thing is really neat, and it's how cool is it for me and listeners to know who the GPS girl is? I love that.
Oh, thank you. Well, I want to thank you for having me, and I also want to say you have reached your destination.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.